My God.
41 years old, took his first kick when I was 10, 2007. Here we go. Matt Prater could be a hero in the 7-1-6 off the couch, 41 years old, for one of the most insane victories of all time. Matty Prater, what do you got? Snap it, snap, the hold, the kick is up. The kick is good! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! One of the most insane wins of all time! Oh my God. What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot here with you, live on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel on a Victory Monday night. And that, of course, can only mean one thing. It is the smoke break. Man, does it feel good to say Victory Monday night once again. Been about 6 months since I've had the pleasure, and I missed it. And I thought coming into this evening's show, I wouldn't have the pleasure. But Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills overcome astronomical odds to pull off what was one of the greatest victories in Buffalo Bills franchise history. You just saw my live reaction to what went down less than 24 hours ago. I woke up this morning and I still couldn't believe what we witnessed. I woke up this morning, I was wondering if what had happened was something I had conjured up in my mind. That was how insane what we saw last night in Orchard Park was. Sunday Night Football to kick the year off in a matchup that everybody was looking forward to, and a matchup that was highly anticipated by any football fan, much less a fan of the Buffalo Bills, a fan of the Baltimore Ravens. And in a game that was billed to be as epic as we were hoping it would be, it surpassed expectations by an infinite margin. What a game last night. What a victory. And it's one we won't soon forget. I genuinely think that will be a game, much like we refer to the 13-second game constantly, Music City Miracle constantly, right? I think in a good way, finally, in a positive way, this will be a game that we refer to throughout time. And especially when we're talking about Josh Allen's legacy, when we're talking about what Josh Allen has done for this franchise, signature moments for an all-time Hall of Fame-bound quarterback, you'll look back to this game, maybe before you look back to any other game. Of course, the future will let us know what we bring up first. Hopefully we bring up an AFC championship win first and inevitably a Super Bowl title after that. Hopefully that's what we start Josh Allen's dissertation with when we look back and recap his career. But when we get into the nuances, when we talk about signature moments, when we talk about defining a player's career, I think last night's game, is there a better example to define Josh Allen and his overall game, his overall meaning to the Buffalo Bills than the Sunday night game in week 1? That was an all-time Josh Allen game, where if you watch that game and that game alone, you could walk away knowing exactly what Josh Allen has been for this franchise since he was drafted back in 2018. That was a defying game. That game in a nutshell is what Josh Allen is on a week-to-week basis, on a season-to-season basis. And you saw last night why Josh Allen was the 2024 MVP and why he has started off the 2025 season as the favorite to win it again, the favorite to repeat as the MVP. He was the best quarterback in the NFL through week 1 against the toughest opponent you could really face in week 1, against the most improbable of odds you could face at any point throughout any season. And what we saw last night was just something else. Chancey coming in. He's saying mini movie just dropped. I was talking with my dad earlier about this game. He put it perfectly. The game did feel like a movie. There were so many moments that felt like they were plot driven, almost like it was scripted. And I know how often the NFL script comes up, right? The big inside joke amongst NFL fans. Oh, the script says this, the script says that. there felt like there were so many moments in that game that were inserted to drive the plot, that were basically thrown into the game to help lead you towards the final outcome. It really did feel like a movie because you had all the elements of a great film. You're right. You had the heroes, you had the villains, you had the atmosphere, the setting, you had the storyline of the trials and tribulations, right? Overcoming obstacles and a happy ending, right? The ultimate triumph, the happy ending. Last night really did feel like a movie in some way. You could not have kicked the season off in a greater fashion. Cameron's coming in. He's saying the one in game. I thought you were saying like the game. My bad. It was the game of the weekend. That's undoubtable. Right now, by the way, Monday Night Football, the first Monday Night Football of the year just kicked off. J.J. McCarthy in his first ever NFL start, his first start since starting in the national championship for the Michigan Wolverines a couple of years ago, taking on the newly led Ben Johnson Chicago Bears. J.J. McCarthy taking his first snap, by the way. I'm interested to see what he looks like. Michigan was a ground and pound team that ran the ball far more than they threw it and played terrific defense. He never struck me as a stout quarterback, yet, of course, when you win a national championship with a Power 5 team, you're going to get drafted. So we'll see what he's got. Off of a season-ending injury, we'll see what that ends up looking like. We'll also see what the Bears end up looking like. Speaking of which, before we talk more Bills, of course, throughout the evening, tons to talk about. Went back, watched as much more as I could to try and conjure up different things to talk about outside of what we talked about last evening, because there was just so much. We spoke on it last night in the postgame show where I basically said, I need to go back and refresh my memory here. There was so much insanity in this game that I feel like a lot is escaping my mind. I got to go back and remind myself of just how much insanity there was and of all the moments I think I might be overlooking because of the outcome in my primary focus on just, oh my God, are they going to get this done? Are they going to get this done? You weren't really thinking about how they got there. In the moment you were thinking about, they're here now. Are they going to get it done? We'll see who gets it done tonight on Monday Night Football. Speaking of Monday Night Football, wrong button there, Bot. Speaking of Monday Night Football, I have my picks in on Sleeper for Monday Night Football. Here they are on the screen in front of you. I took I took a touchdown for Justin Jefferson. I think he gets off to a good start. One of the best wide receivers in the league, of course. Not entirely sure what J.J. McCarthy is going to look like through the air. Like I mentioned, I just don't know what that looks like. So I think he's going to do some scrambling tonight. I have more than 17.5 rush yards for J.J. McCarthy. Less than 217.5 Caleb Williams yards. I'm not bought in on this yet. I'm going to have to see it to believe it. Is Ben Johnson going to be the savior for Caleb Williams? Only time will tell. But tonight, against a really good Minnesota Vikings defense, give me less on that 217.5. And then I got DeAndre Swift getting in the end zone for the Chicago Bears. That adds up to a 13.5 multiplier. Not bad. If you want to get in on the action, click the link in the description below for Sleeper, the fastest organically growing fantasy platform in the world with over 6 million users. When you click that link, make sure to use the promo code BF25 and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper in the link in the description today. In addition to the Buffalo Bills game, of course, we'll talk about more of what we saw throughout the league yesterday because there was a lot to talk about, really. A really odd week one. The teams that you were expecting a lot out of, I guess, based on last year or just based on offseason expectations, I don't know if we saw a lot of that, really. That's what made last night so special. You saw that from Baltimore. You saw that from Buffalo. You saw why those two teams are favored to win the AFC, go to the Super Bowl, and win the Super Bowl. I mean, they're right there in terms of right at the top, favored to win it all. But there's a handful of teams that you're expecting a lot out of. At least you should be based on what they did last year. And I just don't think we saw those expectations come to fruition in the first game. I think we also saw some teams that you weren't expecting much out of show up, including a team, the Buffalo Bills, have to turn around and play on the road this upcoming weekend after that dramatic, insane Sunday Night Football game. The Bills are on the road against Justin Fields and the Jets in week 2. Have you recovered from last night, by the way? Let me know in the chat where you're at. Let me know how you're feeling. How great was your Monday after that game? Maybe it was a tough start to the day. I know it was for me. I didn't get to bed till 4 a.m. Rico and I did the post-game show till like 2:30 in the morning. I went back and watched some highlights immediately after because I was jazzed up. Didn't get to bed till 4. So it was a rough start to the morning. But once you remembered what you watched last night, it helped get the morning going a little bit easier. Let me know what happened with you guys today. Was it an easier day because of what you saw last night, despite having to stay up late? I had heard from people that were at the game that, when they were saying on the broadcast, people are leaving, people are trying to get back in the stands. I had assumed it was a handful of people. From what I'm being told, it was about a quarter of the stadium that had left. I mean, it was a noticeable amount of people that had left the stadium to where if you looked around, Bill's Bunker, who I do the Bills roundtable with, he was at the game. He said that it was the least amount of people in a stadium for a big game like that he had ever seen. Obviously, at that point, it was about 5 minutes left in the game. Bills are down 15. People got to work in the morning. They're trying to beat the traffic. This one's over. They leave. And I guess it was about a quarter of the stadium or so that was gone, which is wild. I mean, to go to that game, leave and miss that ending has to be sickening. That's why you never leave. I've had moments where I want to leave. Usually it's because the Bills have things packed up and they're going to win. I go back to being at the Bills San Francisco Sunday Night Football game last year where Josh Allen had the insane receiving touchdown from Amari Cooper. And I wanted to leave early. My dad was like, no, let's just stay. And you always appreciate staying because you take a selfie with at that night they had won the division. So you take a selfie with that. You just kind of hang out, So you really should never leave. But when you're losing, you have Josh Allen and they're getting the ball back, you really can't leave. So that's the punishment for leaving, missing that. You deserve your punishment. You deserve to miss it, really, because if you walk out of there, you're bailing. And that's easy for me to say. I was sitting on the couch, and there were many a times where I was ready to bail. How could you not? That game felt like it was over 7-8 different times until all of a sudden it wasn't. But you can't leave the game. Last home opener, you can't leave. You got to savor it. And to those who did, you got the ultimate reward watching what unfold. Crazy stats coming out of the game last night. Just insanity left and right. We'll talk about it all. I'm sure you've seen by now the flow chart. There's a chart that shows you the probability of victory throughout the game, and it changes basically every snap, every play. It alters depending on what happens. A good play for Baltimore, obviously their win probability goes up. Bad play for Baltimore goes to the end of Buffalo, vice versa. You look at the game flow chart, and it's quite remarkable because the Ravens essentially had this one in hand based on the win probability throughout the entirety of the game. I'm looking right here. I'm looking at it's the second quarter with 9 minutes left. The Ravens at this point already have a 76% chance to win, and that would only continue to grow and grow and grow. At the start of the fourth quarter, before a play was made in the fourth quarter, the Ravens had a 93% chance to win the football game. That would end up peaking with 4 minutes and 48 seconds left. With 4 minutes and 48 seconds left remaining in the football game, the Baltimore Ravens had a 99% chance to win. A 99% chance. That's why you play the game, folks. That's why you play 60 minutes. That's why you don't leave the stadium. 99% chance. And when you look at the chart, it's parabolic. All the way up to the top for Baltimore. All of a sudden, all the way down to Buffalo with a 100% chance to win off the leg of Matthew Prater. I mean, it was as low as 1%, the win probability, and they somehow got it done. And the way the Bills were able to get it done, despite what they allowed in that football game defensively, is what makes it all the more insane. You know the stats by now. I mean, Derrick Henry, just an all-time night. Once again, 18 carries, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, nearly 10 yards per carry. Zay Flower, a career night for him, career high in yards with only 7 receptions at 143 yards. And one of the easier touchdowns you'll see, dump off on the left side. He basically walks in. And then Lamar Jackson gets over 200 yards on just 14 completions, which is good for, if you take a look at what that is per toss. I mean, you're looking at 15 plus yards per attempt there for Lamar Jackson. And a couple of these throws were just too easy. They were just way too easy. We talked about it last night. It just felt like there were many broken plays. It felt like Zay Flowers was the benefactor of a lot of those broken plays. Derrick Henry certainly was too. And then in addition, on the ground, Lamar Jackson, only 6 carries, perhaps light by his standards, especially when you consider Josh Allen ran the ball 14 times in this game. It did not seem like it at all, but that was what Josh Allen's rushing total looked like, 14 carries. Lamar only ran it 6 times for 70 yards. That's just shy of 12 yards per carry. So you have all these individual stats. Well, what did that culminate into? Well, according to NFL Advanced Stats, the Ravens offense generated the highest explosive play rate, which was 32% of their plays. 32% of their plays resulted in an explosive play. That was the most in a single game in the last decade. The Ravens were doing unprecedented things in this football game. Derrick Henry had 3 separate 30-plus yard carries, the most in his Hall of Fame career. He had never done that before. Zay Flowers, like I mentioned, a career high in receiving yards. Lamar Jackson makes an all-time play, escaping a sack to get the first down. And now you look at these explosive plays, and this makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? It felt like every time the Ravens touched the ball, at minimum, once a drive, there was a back-breaking play where they would go from their own territory to the Bills' territory in the blink of an eye. That's an explosive play. The stat would continue to say that every other offense to record an explosive play over 27.5% in a game over that time frame had won the game every single time. So any other team throughout the last decade that had displayed an explosive play rate of above 27.5%, the Ravens finished with 32%. Those teams went 13-0 over the last decade. The Ravens averaged over 8 yards per play on both the ground and the air. 8.2 yards per carry, 9.3 yards per pass. Lost the football game. Lost the football game. And in large part, it has to do with the resilience of the Buffalo Bills and ultimately Josh Allen putting the cape on. Josh Allen put the cape on last night. He never took it off, and he flew the Buffalo Bills in for a victory. He had to put the cape on. It's one of those games where you're not going to win this game unless Josh Allen has an MVP-type night, and that's exactly what he had. Unfortunately, the Buffalo Bills have found themselves at times reliant on Josh Allen needing to be the best player in the entire league in order to win a football game. Now, that's fine sometimes, but because, there's a reason you have him. If you have him, why wouldn't you want him to play at the top of the league? Why wouldn't you want him each and every game to be his best? Unfortunately, we know, though, that that's not going to happen every single week. And when you are reliant on that happening every week to win football games, well, you're not going to win them all because you're just not going to get that type of performance every night. But luckily for the Buffalo Bills and luckily for us fans, you're getting it more often than not. But the defense, of course, last night really struggled. And the main takeaway I had was if the Bills lose that game by 15 or by 2, the main takeaway was going to be how abysmal the Buffalo Bills defense was. And it really was. The Bills defense allowed everything I had just mentioned, all of those statistics. I mean, it was just an historic night based on what the Ravens were able to do in only 50 plays. That was the wild thing here. I mean, you take a look at you take a look at what the heck is going on here? I'm on my Twitter, by the way, and it's showing me tweet. I refreshed my Twitter, and it says my most recent tweet is from January of 2018. The hell is up with that? Okay. Anyway, you take a look at what they did last night, and the Bills D just had no answer until they needed to have an answer the most. That was what was so crazy about the performance. As you walk away from that game and you can't help but think, well, it was just not a good game defensively. If anything, it was a bad game. You can't even just excuse it as a poor game or a mediocre game. It was a bad game. But what's remarkable about these Buffalo Bills defensively is that throughout Sean McDermott's tenure, they've made a play or two when it matters most to overcome a compilation throughout the game that results in not a very good effort, but a W nonetheless. I mean, that's what was so crazy about last night. The defense just not doing what you would hope they would do after an offseason that felt like the bulk share of the offseason attention was directed at making sure that this defense was up to snuff. I mean, that was exactly what you were hoping you were going to get, a revamped Buffalo Bills defense based on the draft picks, based on the offseason acquisitions and free agency. And you really didn't see a major shift towards an improvement. But much like last year, where the Buffalo Bills led the league in turnover differential, forcing 15 fumbles and 15 interceptions, to coincide with an historically low turnover rate for the Buffalo Bills offense, what you saw that was awfully similar to last year was that bend but don't break. And they were a thread away from breaking. I mean, they were truly down to what felt like a dental floss thin type string away from just snapping and completely breaking. But that dental floss string that allowed them to refrain from completely breaking was ultimately the difference. 3 stops to end the football game. When the Buffalo Bills defense needed to make a play the most, they did 3 consecutive times against one of, if not the best quarterback in the league on any given week, one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, and one of the best running backs we've ever seen. Really one of the best offenses in the NFL, no debate. They were able to do that when the pressure was at its highest. For as bad as this Buffalo Bills defense was last night, you can't discredit the fact that when it mattered most, they stepped up the most, including Ed Oliver making the play of the entire night on both sides of the ball. If Ed Oliver does not force that strip fumble, the Buffalo Bills do not win the football game. And for the offense's ability to capitalize on that, it was as great of complimentary football as you'll ever be able to find. And it's moments like that you wish you see more of throughout the duration of the football game, as opposed to waiting till the end when your heart's about to explode out of your chest for the Buffalo Bills defense to finally make one of those plays and help the Bills offense out. But it all culminates in the same result. That's what's crazy. Do you feel good about what you saw last night from the Bills defense? No. But do you feel good about their ability to step up when they needed to answer the call? Yes. And that's what's really the tough part about walking away from this game, trying to discern what your primary takeaway is from this Buffalo Bills defense. I still think the primary takeaway is, man, it wasn't very good. Secondary got shredded, right? The front line seemed to be getting blown off the ball. There were times throughout the game where they were holding their own for sure. I think especially in the second half. Yes, Derrick Henry had that major run. Yes, Lamar Jackson was able to get out of the pocket and make that incredible scramble on third down. But what more was the defense supposed to do there? That's just a special player making a special play. I don't really know what else you can do there. Whether you're the 85 Bears or you're an absolute sieve, I just don't know what you can do against a wizardry type football play that Lamar Jackson made. He's the only quarterback in the NFL that can make that play, and he did. You got to tip the cap. I don't know what you can do. And like Chris Collinsworth said on the broadcast, it demoralized the Buffalo Bills defense to such a degree that the very next play, Derrick Henry takes it for a house call. But I got to tell you what, there's something to be said about the ability to bounce back from that situation. Because when that sequence unfolded, that's when you could really make the argument they could just pack it in here, right? They could just pack it in. They're going up 15 here. We just had Lamar Jackson dead to rights on 3rd and long. He literally casted a spell and somehow was able to go from one place to another. It was literally like the video game Portal, where you walk into a hole and you come out of another one. That's what it felt like. And then the next play, Derrick Henry goes basically 50 yards to the house. You could see the Buffalo Bills defense not being able to recover from that. The fact that they not only recovered from that, but stopped them on 3 consecutive drives when they needed to the most, including forcing a fumble. It's crazy. It's crazy because as poorly as that defense played, and as much as we would have lit into them post-game, at the end of it all, what did they do? They did what needed to be done. And it's really all, at the end of the day, as crazy as that is to say, it's really all you can ask for. It's really all you can ask for. You want to see improvement. You need to see improvement. You're not going to win every single game like last night. I mean, really, you're not going to win any of them. I mean, how many times? Think about it. You saw the analytics. 99% chance to win, meaning 99% of the time in that situation, the Ravens win the game. The Bills just got the victory in the 1 out of 100 scenario. So what does that mean in all likelihood? Well, the next 99 times you are in that situation, the Bills are likely to lose. So you can't hang your hat on allowing the Ravens offensively to do what they did for 3 quarters and then rest your laurels on what you were able to do in the 4th quarter. But for last night being able to do it while they did it, you got to tip your cap and only hope that improvement is on the horizon. And when you look at the schedule coming up here, you have to think that improvement is going to be on the horizon. And that is why, folks, last night, I can't overemphasize just how unbelievably important of a victory that was for the Buffalo Bills and how gut-wrenching of a loss that was for the Baltimore Ravens. And it's not just because of the way the Bills won or the way the Ravens lost, but it's because of what I think the ramifications are going to be for both teams based on that game. If you take a look at the Buffalo Bills schedule moving forward and you factor in the Ravens losing, you factor in 3 losses for all 3 other teams in the AFC East, you factor in the Kansas City Chiefs, who we'll talk a little bit more on later on in the show because I want to touch on that. You talk about them losing that football game in Brazil and really not looking good at all. I mean, the Chiefs did not look good at all. So they lose. The Bengals, I don't know how they didn't lose. I think they had like 10 all-purpose yards in the second half. And God bless the Browns, they couldn't make a kick to save their life. Their kicker missed a chip shot extra point and a chip shot field goal to win it, and he missed them both. Ravens didn't look good. Chiefs didn't look good. Bengals didn't look good. And then you have the Ravens losing this game. But you factor in the scheduling here, and this is what I think is the ultimate difference and why last night was so big for both teams. And this is the upcoming schedule for the Buffalo Bills. The Jets, the Dolphins, who right now might be the worst team in the NFL, the Saints, who aren't far behind that, the Patriots, who played a couple quarters worth of decent football yesterday and could not do a thing afterwards, 10 points against the Raiders, the Falcons, the Panthers, how bad did the Panthers look? I thought the Panthers were going to come out, hey, Bryce Young was looking good at the end of the year last year. This has got to be the year they take another step forward. The Jaguars, the Jaguars of all teams, who have struggled more than just about any other franchise, they laid the belt on them. They laid the belt on them. That's the Bills' upcoming schedule. You look at the Ravens here. They got the Browns coming up this week. You might say, oh, it's the Browns. No, that's a divisional slugfest. There's nothing coming easy in the AFC North. Ask the Cincinnati Bengals. They should have lost to those Cleveland Browns on Sunday afternoon. The Browns always give every team in this division everything they got. And that's a reunion game for Joe Flacco. You don't think he's fired up? That's easier said than done, getting that victory over Cleveland. Then it's against the Detroit Lions, who looked as bad as anybody on Sunday afternoon. But I got to think they're going to turn it around to some degree. That team and that roster is way too good. Then it's the Chiefs. Then it's the Texans. Then it's the Rams. I mean, look at here. Here are the next 5 games for your Buffalo Bills. Here's the next 5 games for your Bills. Jets, Dolphins, Saints, Patriots, Falcons. Okay? Here's your next 5 games for the Ravens. Browns, divisional battle. Not easy. Not coming easy like the divisions come for Buffalo recently. Browns, Lions, Chiefs, Texans, Rams. 4 of the 5 playoff contenders last year. This is why last night was so crucial. Because if it does come down to a game or 2 at the end of the season, what the Bills pulled off last night, razor-thin margin, is going to end up being the tipping point between the 1 seed they have not been able to get under Sean McDermott and Josh Allen, and the 1 seed that I think that they are primed to get this season for the first time. Huge. Huge. And they should have lost it. I said I wanted to mention the Chiefs, and I think this is why I wanted to mention them. You know me, I'm into the quirky stuff, the intangibles. This is why last night I thought the Ravens had the edge going into the game. And clearly they did for 3 quarters. I mean, was it not visible? They did. The Ravens were the better team on the football field for about 45 to 50 minutes of that football game. And it felt like they were the team with the edge. It felt visible that that team was the team that was wronged last year, lost in the divisional in that game. Lamar loses the MVP. It felt as such watching that football game, right? I thought they were going to have that edge. It seemed that they did. They just couldn't close it out, right? The Bills lose those games every single time. Whether it's Josh Allen or not, it's just felt like the fate of the Buffalo Bills has always resulted in a loss in those type of games, right? The Minnesota Vikings overtime game, the DeAndre Hopkins Hail Murray game, the 13-second game, of course. Last year's AFC Championship, Josh Allen, did he get the first down? Many people thought he did. Nope, sorry, didn't get it. Lose. Tyler Bass missing the field goal in the divisional game the year prior. Josh Allen getting his arm hit by Chris Jones when he had a wide open receiver in the end zone. Also had a check down on his left-hand side. Don't get it. Miss the kick. Lose. I mean, it's just time and time again. And these are all the examples under Josh Allen, not to mention the 1,000 other ones prior to Josh Allen, right? But here's what happened last night. What happened on Sunday night, they won the game. They won that football game. They lose that game every single other time you can fathom throughout the Buffalo Bills history. They won it. Let's go to the Kansas City Chiefs side of things on Friday night in Brazil against the LA Chargers. The game that they lost, looking terrible, yet still being in the game throughout the entire thing. This was the Chiefs' entire motto last year. This was their entire identity in 2024. Man, these guys don't look good. Man, these guys look beatable. Man, these guys are going to... Oh, they blocked the field goal. Oh, Aiden O'Connell fumbled the ball when they were already in field goal range to win it on Thanksgiving weekend. Oh my God. The Bengals committed pass interference. The game was over. They weren't even in field goal range. Oh my God. Josh Allen, QB sneak, one of the best in the business to do it. No, doesn't get it. Win. Well, what happened Friday night? It was a 1-score game. They looked like crap. They were in it till the end. And they lost. You saw 2 polar opposites of what the usual outcome is for these 2 teams. And I can't help but wonder, despite it being a week 1 outlier for now, is it an omen of a change? Because the Kansas City Chiefs had the longest streak of 1-score victories in NFL history. The Chiefs were on an unprecedented run of winning 1-score games to the point where you could not understand, you could not fathom their ability to continue to keep doing it and the ways that they were doing it. I just listed off several. How are they doing this? How is this possible? They won every single 1-score game they played last year. Every single one of them. Every single one of them in a litany of different ways. And the Bills throughout history lose the game that they played on Sunday night every single time. Well, here we are, week 1 of the 2025 NFL season. The Chiefs lose their first 1-score game in what feels like an eternity. The Bills win their first all-time classic, what the hell just happened, best game of the year game in what feels like an eternity. Is it an anomaly? Well, time will tell. We'll find out. We'll see. But all I can look at is what happened all I can look at is what's happened in week 1. And all I can compare that to is what's happened prior. And even if it is an outlier, it's still significant, especially on the Chiefs end of things. They won every single one of those games last year. Every single one of them. You can sit here and tell me, oh, Bod, it's just week 1. Oh, Bod, it's still the Chiefs. I get all that. And you want to know what? You're probably right. You're probably right. How many times have I eaten my words on Kansas City? And I do give Kansas City the utmost respect. You know I do. But that's not to say that you're lying to yourself if you think they played their best football last year compared to what they've done in the past. And they won games in ways that just made no sense, that you could not wrap your mind around. And they won every single one of them. The difference between week 1 and the entirety of the 2024 season is that the Kansas City Chiefs lost that game. And in 2024, they won that game, not 99% of the time, not 90% of the time, 100% of the time. Could there be a sign of difference here? We'll see. It is only week 1, but I thought it's something to point out. The Bills are primed right now. I hope you realize how primed they are to position themselves for a spot that they have not been able to obtain under Josh Allen. For as good as this team has been, for the records that they have been able to achieve year in and year out, 5 consecutive AFC East titles, 2 AFC championship appearances, an MVP for Josh Allen, double-digit victories year after year after year. The one thing they have not been able to do is get the 1 seed. The Bills are primed to do it this year. And last night could be the ultimate difference maker. That's why that game felt so big, even if it was just week 1. There's an old saying, you can't win anything in September, but you can lose it. And I think you can lose the 1 seed in September. Ask the Cincinnati Bengals if you can lose a playoff spot in September. The Bengals might have been the best team in the NFL, at least offensively, down the stretch of the 2024 season. Didn't make the playoffs. Why? Week 1, lose to New England. Week 2, lose a game that they had wrapped up. And you're looking back at the end of the year and you're thinking, man, if we just would have had one of those games, we're in the postseason and we're as hot as anybody. Nope, sorry. Didn't get it done in September. It's too late. It's too late. It matters. And I think you're going to look back in January when these seedings are getting decided and you're going to say, can you believe the Buffalo Bills, the game that they were dead to rights in, is going to end up being the ultimate difference in seeding here? And I just went over the schedule with you. The Buffalo Bills are going to be heavily favored in their next 6 games. And when I say heavily favored, I'm talking a touchdown minimum. Touchdown minimum. And here's the reality. Jets, Dolphins, Saints, Patriots, Falcons, Panthers. The best team on that list that I saw in week 1 was the Jets. I don't know. I don't even know how close it was. Falcons look decent. They gave the Bucs a run, but that's a divisional battle that they always go toe to toe, regardless of who's playing. They always seem to battle tough, both those teams. I think it's safe to say that the best team on that list of 6 teams the Bills will be playing is the Jets. And we know the Jets are good for giving the Bills the business once a year. It's funny how it goes. It feels like every single year the Jets play the Bills to the wire and something crazy happens. You had the Hail Mary from Rodgers last year before half. That game came down to the wire. The Bills had to ice it late. Crazy game. Then you have the second game and the Bills, I mean, they pantsed the Jets in front of America. It just destroyed them. You know, the year prior, Aaron Rodgers injured on the first series of the game. Zach Wilson comes in. Oh my God, the Bills, this is in the bag. Nope, lose on a punt return in overtime. Later on in the season, get it done in a much easier fashion. So we know the Jets, I think historically nobody's defended Josh Allen collectively better than the Jets, not consistently, but it feels like once a year you really get a balls out effort from the New York Jets defense. Here's the funny thing though. All of a sudden the Jets, who were defined by their defense, seem to have an abysmal defense ever since Robert Saleh was fired. Robert Saleh was fired after the Bills beat them last year, and their defense has never been the same. Now, what's funny here is Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions a season ago, is hired to be the head coach of the Jets. And I think he's done a great job this offseason. You notice how quiet the Jets are? They needed that. The Jets were as loud as the Cowboys seem to be for the last couple of years. And you don't want that surrounding you when you don't have anything to back it up. They have the longest playoff drought in the entire NFL. The last thing you want to be is loud. I think Aaron Glenn's come in and done a good job of quieting the outside noise, beginning to build the semblance of a culture, and allowing this team to get past the Aaron Rodgers era and really just a whole lot of BS and a whole lot of bad over the last decade and a half. But funny enough, for a defensive coordinator who was good enough to land a job, a head coaching job for a team that is known to be defined by defense, that defense, not only was it bad once Robert Saleh was fired, I was expecting to see them step up in week one, and Aaron Rodgers had his best game that he's had in the last 3 seasons against the Jets in week one. 4 touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers, 34 points. On what planet did the Jets score 32 points and lose a football game? I couldn't tell you the last time the Jets scored 32 points. I'd have to look it up. If you told me the Jets scored 32 points, I'd be like, wow, that's incredible. I wasn't expecting that. And they had to have won, right? Because their defense is what they're known for. Surely they held their opponent to less than 32. No. If Aaron Rodgers is putting 34 on the head of the Jets, what's Josh Allen doing if he just put 41 on the head of the Ravens and he put 28 on the head of them in the second half with 250 yards in the fourth quarter? What's Josh Allen doing to the Jets this week if he comes to play the way he did in the second half of that game? And by the way, I say all this because that's the best opponent the Bills had in their way until, wait for it, November 2nd. I mean, this team, they're about to hit, when you're playing Mario Kart and you hit one of those speed ramps, they're about to hit it. And the speed ramp that they hit, that they unlocked, was last night. They could have hit a banana peel, got off to a slippery start, and then started to find their way towards the finish line. But instead, last night, when it looked like they were going to hit the banana peel, they hit the accelerator. Now they go in to a series of football games where they're going to be heavily favored, where they're going to be significantly better than their opponent. And what does this league come down to the most? It really comes down to quarterback play and who you're playing on the other side of the field. That's why last night you see a 41-40 football game. If you see 41-40 and you ask, well, who are the quarterbacks in that game? In all likelihood, it was going to be exactly who it wound up being. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. You throw in a Joe Burrow, a Patrick Mahomes. Those are the quarterbacks putting up those types of games. That's what made the Jets-Steelers game that much more of absurd to me. Crazy how that was the second highest scoring game of the day. Rodgers, an aging 40-year-old Rodgers versus Justin Fields. Wild. That was an anomaly. But it's quarterback play. Quarterback play is what matters the most in the NFL. I mean, here are the quarterbacks that the Bills are about to get set to face over the next 2 months here. Justin Fields, Tua, Spencer Rattler, Drake May in his second year, Michael Penix in his second year, Bryce Young, who it hasn't been what it was supposed to be at the number 1 overall pick. I mean, I'd have to hear like you'd have to make a 30-page PowerPoint to convince me of one loss on that stretch there. And I'd have to see some serious evidence. I'd have to see some serious negotiate or some serious persuasion skills on the end of you to convince me where the loss is in there. And if they run the table, that's 7-0 going in against Kansas City at home, where they've been exceptionally good in the regular season. If last night didn't kick things off as a sign of a destiny type year, then I don't know what will. We'll see what ends up happening. I mean, I get it. It's only one game. They should have lost. But they didn't. And they won it. And it was insane. And they lose that game every other time. Is this the sign of difference? I mean, only time's going to tell. Went back and watched that game, and there's a couple of moments in it that you think back on, and you just really can't believe you witnessed what you witnessed. Few things that I forgot about when we were doing the post game last night. And one of them, I think this might have been the most egregious mistake that Ravens made the entire night. You could really argue it. And I went back and watched, and I had forgot it even happened. And what's crazy is it happened right before the pure elation was on the horizon, on the leg of the 41-year-old Matt Prater. Get to him more in a minute. I can't get over that. So the Bills make the stop. And once again, I want to talk. Actually, we'll talk about this more in a second too. And that was the decision to punt for John Harbaugh. But he punts nonetheless. We'll get to the decision in a second. Let's talk about the punt. So at this point in time in the football game, it's do or die for the Buffalo Bills. They're going to have to go the distance, get in field goal range with no timeouts in a minute and a half. The punt from the Baltimore Ravens was absolute perfection. You could not have punted that ball better. And when you factor in the circumstances, about a minute and a half left, Buffalo's out of timeouts. That punt, in all likelihood, could have been the ultimate dagger in the Buffalo Bills comeback attempt if it were to have simply of just not been touched. That ball lands at around the 8-yard line, and it bounces a little bit, and it bounces a little bit, and it's coming to an end. It's coming to an end. That ball, you go back and watch it, that ball is coming to an end. It's stopping. You can see it. There's not a whole lot more momentum behind it. And a Ravens player jumps in, leaps to grab it. And his momentum carries him along the turf. And his pointer finger, or I don't even know, part of his glove. I mean, it was a literal inch of his body. Maybe even less than an inch, maybe a millimeter. Like Sicard's saying here. Literally, his knuckle touches the goal line. Touchback. 20-yard line. That game's different if the Buffalo Bills got to start the game-winning drive from the inch line, or hell, even within the 5. Dives, touches the ball, glides, knuckle touches the goal line, touchback. And that's something I had completely forgot about. That was one of the biggest plays in the game. And you could argue it might have been the biggest mistake the Ravens made, because I think if they start at the inch line, the odds of you going and getting in scoring territory are significantly more difficult than starting at the 20. Significantly. How big was that? And you think about the amount of little things in this game that went the Bills' way. It's mind-blowing. The fact that they put a second back on the clock on that Dalton Kincaid catch on the sideline before half. And it was the right call. But if you go back and look, when they freeze-framed the play and also had the clock lined up with the play, it was not a full second. It was a millisecond. It was a millisecond difference between all zeros and 0, 0, 0, 1. Millisecond. That allows Matt Prater to get out on the field. That allows him to get a field goal attempt off before half, hit that field goal, make it a touchdown game when it felt like the Bills were down 3 scores. And what do you know? The Bills win by 1. Got 3 before half. You going to tell everybody you fell asleep before that game ended last night?
Yeah. I was scared because they looked so bad the first half.
What were your thoughts when I woke you up and told you they won?
Oh, I heard the screaming. I was like, wow. I wonder if Henry got hurt. That other guy. What's the...
Derrick Henry? Oh, Caroline was infatuated with Derrick Henry.
Those yards.
So I was watching with Caroline and my in-laws last night. They've never seen Derrick Henry before.
That guy's insane.
They could not fathom what they were witnessing. And it gives you perspective into what we watch on a weekly basis. I mean, that is...
obsessed when he when he ran through that Bills player and
Cole Bishop.
Like that, I was like, holy crap.
They couldn't believe it because he threw Cole Bishop off of him like he was, like it was like throwing a mosquito off.
Yeah, no. And they're all, I know how huge they are, so I just could not imagine how big he was. He looked like a monster. So
when you saw him for the first time, was that like one of the more insane football things you've seen?
That's the only thing that kept me in the room for the first half of the game.
And this is what's beautiful about sports, I think, is you get the perspective here because Derrick Henry is an anomaly. right? You know, you got Astro coming. He's 250 pounds, yet he runs faster than anybody else on the football field.
Damn.
I was kind of referring to him as like a human refrigerator, like, because they were like, how could you get stiff arm like that? I'm like, could you imagine trying to tackle a human refrigerator coming at you 25 miles an hour?
Kill myself.
Right.
I'd kill myself.
By the way, look at
31 weeks today.
31 weeks. We are 9 weeks out from Baby Bot. We're already, that was Baby Bot's first, what do you call it when it's inside? Gestational?
In utero?
In utero. That was Baby Bot's first in utero Bills game. What a first game to see. But it's funny how when you're around others that aren't, you know, as big into it as we are, it puts it into perspective. A guy like Derrick Henry. Could you imagine watching Derrick Henry for the first time? Because the guy defies anything to do with the position. I mean, truly. You saw it on the broadcast last night where Taylor Rapp takes the wrong angle. It's not just the size. I mean, the sheer speed. Taylor Rapp is half the size of Derrick Henry, and he can't come close to matching the speed. But I wake her up last night. I mean, she's hearing us going absolutely insane out there. I mean, I was freaking out. I was freaking out. When was the moment for you, by the way, when you felt like there was a chance? Was it the Derrick Henry fumble? Because it has to be. Because up until that point, I don't know if you expected the Bills defense to get a stop, or at least a quick enough stop to allow them the opportunity. But anyway, back to the little things, right? So we have the field goal attempt before half. I still can't believe it. The tip touchdown to Keon Coleman. I mean, come on. The tip touchdown. That ball literally felt like it had a magnet to Keon Coleman's gloves. It's tipped. It goes to the right side, and he's just there perfectly. What are the odds? That ball was nowhere near catchable when it was tipped. And he's there. That was on fourth down. That doesn't get caught by Coleman. The game's over. There's just not enough time. They get it. They catch it. The goal line thing, the punt, the knuckle of the Ravens special teams player touching the goal line while holding onto the ball. Bills get the ball at the 20. The fact that after multiple 2-point conversion failures, the Ravens left the door open by doinking an extra point. The fact that Keon Coleman was tripped up on that final throw to get them into field goal territory. He was going for 6. And look, he's a second-year player. It's the heat of the moment. You're trying to win. I don't think Keon Coleman's sliding at the 1 to kick that field goal. I think there's way too much going on in your mind right now at that moment to be cognizant of, oh, maybe I shouldn't score because it's going to leave Baltimore time. They're going to have 3 timeouts in about 40 seconds to do something and get in field goal range and win. He wasn't going to slide. He wasn't going to take a knee. He was going to go in the end zone. He burnt. Who was it? Was it Jair Alexander? Whoever it was. Put him in a blender, but was somehow tripped up. And then I was on earlier with Dan Mitchell and Kevin Massari and Bill's Bunker on the Bills Roundtable. Kevin Massari brought up a great point. The fire drill field goal was executed to perfection. So the Bills decide to make Baltimore burn all 3 of their timeouts. So they take 3 knees, including on third down, meaning the Bills no longer have any timeouts. Baltimore no longer has any timeouts. You got to run the field goal unit out there with a brand new kicker, by the way, who wasn't on the roster 10 days ago. Fire drill, field goal attempt. Kevin brought up a great point. They snapped that ball with 3 seconds left to allow the catch, the hold, the kick, good, no time remaining, to make sure another 13-second moment wasn't even possible. But here's what I didn't think. If there was a flag on the play, an offsides, or a false start, a hold, an illegal motion, whatever, insert penalty here, game's over. Game's over. You don't get a redo. If you get a flag on that play at that time of the game, it's no resetting of the downs. Game's over. They executed that flawlessly. And then with that execution, Hamilton, the ball went between Hamilton's hands. The ball literally went right between. He had his hands like this to block it. The ball went right between. If that ball was an inch to the left, an inch to the right, maybe an inch lower, whatever, it's blocked. It's blocked. Went right between his hands. These are all the things that had to happen for the Bills to win, and they did. All of those things. In addition to the plays made, in addition to the unbelievable plays made by Ed Oliver, by Josh Allen, by Keon Coleman, by Josh Palmer, by Jackson Hawes. I mean, what the hell? Jackson Hawes. You're convinced that's got to be Knox or Kincaid. No way Hawes, the rookie's making that play. A blocking tight end. Oh, nope, that's him. I will never not look at the final score of this game and be in anything other than utter shock at what was witnessed. Let's talk Keon Coleman for a second. Coming out party for Keon Coleman. And could it have happened at a more crucial time? That's what you drafted him for. Josh Allen wanted this guy. This was the guy out of all the receivers that Josh Allen allegedly had said he wanted amongst the group. Bean goes and gets him. Last year, rookie year doesn't go the way he wants it. He's hurt. Production's not necessarily where you want it to be. They really didn't incorporate him as much as you'd like. He only had, 50-some targets, I think? He was averaging like 20 yards a catch. Let me double check the targets for last year. Minimal. Yeah, 57 targets, 29 receptions. He comes into this year amped. He comes into this year determined to be better. And what do we hear all offseason? Keon Coleman, another big play in camp. Another great rep. Another great day at practice. Deion Dawkins. Look out, NFL. Here comes Keon Coleman. And it's game 1 of the NFL season. In that spot. In the first half, there isn't a whole lot of Keon Coleman. You're not seeing a whole lot. You're not really seeing a whole lot from anybody. The Bills couldn't do anything in the pass game. That's why they ran, 9 screens? And every other pass that wasn't a screen down the field was either incomplete or it was a dump off right in front of the line of scrimmage. But then all of a sudden, the Keon Coleman coming out party happens at the most crucial time. This was a defying game for Keon Coleman's young career here and the launch pad for what we hope for him to be. And that is Josh Allen's X factor. Josh Allen's go up and get it number 1 receiver. Josh Allen's I need a play. He's the guy I'm going to. And you know what's crazy? He kept targeting Keon. He's who he trusted. Allen was looking at Keon almost exclusively down the stretch. It wasn't like it was a second read. Oh, there's Coleman. That was the move. That was the game plan. Get the ball to Keon. And he capitalized. 8 receptions, 112 yards, and that touchdown that was the ultimate difference. Staying with it off the tip, not giving up, being in position, making the play. 8 receptions, 112 yards. What more could you ask for? Especially in the timing in which he did it. You could not be more elated by what you saw from Keon Coleman in game 1, especially because the expectations seemingly were rising. The expectations throughout the offseason, man, look out, here comes Keon Coleman. All right, well, let's see it. It's one thing to do it in the preseason. It's one thing to do it in camp. What's it going to look like when the lights are bright? And it looked terrific. I think I was looking at the fantasy numbers in terms of highest scoring flex players. He was towards the top of the list. So was James Cook. Keon Coleman, tip of the cap. You were one of the MVPs of the night. And you hope that that is just the beginning of an illustrious career for Zero in Buffalo. Now let's talk about the guy throwing him the football. I mean, just when you thought you couldn't say more about Josh Allen, just when you thought you've seen it all, the guy continues to take your breath away. The guy continues to raise the bar. He continues to deliver at a level you didn't think was possible. The ability to pull off what he pulled off yesterday, really going a full first half without anything open. How many times throughout the first half did you see Josh Allen running around like a chicken with his head cut off, with no pocket, with no time, with nothing open, just trying to make a play, and nothing was happening? What he did in the second half, in the fourth quarter in particular, is all-time stuff, historic stuff. Josh Allen in the fourth quarter, 16-21, 269 total yards and 3 touchdowns. The first player this century to throw for 250 plus yards in the fourth quarter of a victory. Quite literally all time. Quite literally historic. 394 total yards, 394 yards through the air, over 400 all-purpose yards. 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. 3 letters. MVP. The guy was the MVP last night. He's the reigning MVP. He's the MVP of week 1. He is the leader in the clubhouse for MVP in 2025. It's as good of a performance as you'll ever see. When the lights are the brightest, when it's needed the most, when it's at the most crucial, critical point of the game. Fourth quarter. His fourth quarter stats alone is a great day for any quarterback in the NFL. If, say, the Bills or any, I don't care. Let's just say, let's give an example. Yesterday, let's say, I'll just look at tonight. Let's just say tonight, Monday Night Football, Bears, Vikings. Caleb Williams finishes the night 16-21, 269 total yards, 3 touchdowns. What are they saying tomorrow on every show? Man, Ben Johnson's got Caleb Williams back. He's got Caleb Williams looking good. He's got him at a level he wasn't able to get to last year. Caleb Williams had a hell of a Monday night. That was Josh Allen's fourth quarter. 16-21, 269 total yards and 3 touchdowns is a good outing for any quarterback in the league, whether they're mediocre, bad, or great. And that was his fourth quarter. Unprecedented performance from Josh Allen, and he never lost hope. And I loved in the postgame victory, or the postgame interview, what did he say to the fan base? Have a little more faith next time. And what does Pierre always say? Remember who we have. And to those who left, I think they forgot for a second who we have. We have 17. And he reminded the entire fan base, have a little more faith next time. This is why I don't know how you guys are, but I have had such a tough time removing myself from the trauma of years past to allow myself to have a little more faith. I'm just expecting the worst, even though I shouldn't, with this guy throwing the football. Why should I? Why should I? Because at the very least, they're going to get back in the game. They might not win it, but at the very least, they're going to be given a chance to win it at the end. He's giving you no reason to think otherwise. They never get blown out. They never lose by more than one score. They never do, ever. No matter what the circumstances is, they just don't. They just don't. And it's because of him. It's because of him and nobody else. And this is why the team is who they are, because of the belief that they have in him. In post-game, he's saying, I saw some fans leave. Have a little more faith next time. We've been given every reason in the world, based on that performance on Sunday night, to have all the faith moving forward. You could argue we should have already had the faith, but you got a reminder on Sunday Night Football as to why you should continue to have the faith, so long as 17 is manning the ship in Buffalo. All-time stuff in an all-time game from Josh Allen. Let's get to some super chats. Narham coming in. Work sucked today. Should have called in sick. Still in shock. Yeah, I don't blame you. I wonder how many sick calls were made in the 716 this morning. I would have to imagine more than a few. More than a few. for all the right reasons, too. You know, I'm sure there were plenty of sick calls after the 13-second game. Those were for all the reasons you were hoping you wouldn't have to call in sick. This morning, it was for all the reasons you hope to call in sick. Yeah, I was up a little too late. Maybe had an extra beer or two after that game was over in celebration. I can't make it in. But good for you, Narham. You stuck it out. It was a rough morning for everybody. Like I said, I was up till like 4 last night. Tough falling asleep after that one. Divine coming in. What if we call it the Ralph Wilson Rally? Ooh, I like it. Big W, yeah. All these iconic games have names, don't they? Hail Murray, 13 seconds, Music City Miracle. I like it. You're the first one I've seen come up with a name for it, so I'm going to go with it. Divine Demigod is penning this one in as the Ralph Wilson Rally. And I think it fits perfect because it's the last game in the Ralph. I get it. It's Highmark. No, it's the Ralph. It's always been the Ralph. The thing is, I've had this on my mind. I don't know. You can't call the new stadium the Ralph. Unfortunately, I think we're going to have to refer to the new stadium as Highmark. This has always been the Ralph. This is why you continue to call it the Ralph. But once that's leveled and you're in the new stadium, I don't think you can call the new stadium the Ralph. It's going to take everything in me to start calling it Highmark. I just can't bring myself to do it. But the new stadium isn't the Ralph. So I think it's fitting, Divine. Last ever home opener in the Ralph. And the Bills pull off the Ralph Wilson Rally. Love it. Every iconic game has a name. Let's roll with it. Divine Demigod, great work. GQ Bob with a banger. Appreciate you, GQ. Good to see you again. You were in late with us last night. You're rocking with us again this evening. By the way, 1,100 of you in the building. Do me a favor if you haven't already. Subscriber count's been going nuclear over the last couple of weeks, and for good reason. Everybody's dialed in. Everybody's locked in for the season. Tap that button if you could for me. Like button as well if you don't mind. GQ rolling in with us yet again. He's saying, I'm still on cloud 9. In the words on Big Fella, Pierre, I'm a homer. Remember who we have. We were just going over that perfect time in GQ. Gotta believe. Stars of the night, according to GQ Bob. Number 1, without question, JA17. Goes without saying. Number 2, Ed Oliver. Perfect. And number 3, Matt Prater. Nailed it, GQ. In order, too. Nailed it. Those are your 3 stars of the game. GQ says, man, I love our team. We are so used to being on the other side of these games. The road to the number 1 seed. You're damn right, GQ. Perfectly said. Perfectly lined up. How can you not love the Buffalo Bills right now? You're giving all these reminders watching Hard Knocks. Man, I love this team. You're watching it. Man, oh man. How likable are these guys? I just love these guys. Then you get into the week 1 game, and it's funny. You're sitting there through 3 quarters, and you're like, I waited 6 months for this shit. I waited 6 months to watch that. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Oh. And then you're like, yeah, I love this team. It's like the meme you always see where it's like, it's got like, I'm going to have a heart attack. Oh, this, that. Oh, they won. Nice. Always expected it. I wasn't able to get there last night. I wasn't able to get there until it was over. My brother-in-law was sitting there. He was like, they're going to win. I'm like, shut up. They're going to win. Dude, you know how many times I've been down this road? Don't say anything. And then we'll go nuts once it happens. Happened. Signified back in again. He was up late with us last night. Signified saying, think of it from the fan perspective. Derrick Henry was doing exactly what he did in week 4 last year. The defense showed no signs of life at all. I mean, the best way to put it, like I mentioned, if the Bills lose this game, it's all we're doing. It's all we're doing is we're sitting here last night. We're sitting here tonight. We're sitting here throughout the week saying, man, the Buffalo Bills defense is just, ugh. What, yet again, another historic Josh Allen performance, 40 points, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. For what? But let me reemphasize, this Buffalo Bills defense did make the plays necessary when it mattered most. I mean, yes, you're right. They did show no signs, but it wasn't all night. They showed no signs until the last 3 drives when they showed every sign. and they made every play. They did. They just did. This is what's crazy about trying to reflect on that performance, because it's bad. It was bad. And every one of those guys would tell you such. None of those guys are happy with how that performance went. But they're sure as hell happy with the outcome and what they were able to achieve in the final 3 drives. Derrick Henry did do that in week 4 of last year. The difference is the Bills got rolled and they packed it in and they never came close to winning that football game. They did last night. The Buffalo Bills defense did not make the play necessary in that game last year. They did last night. Only time will tell now if they learn from this and improve. But so long as they can continue to force turnovers while Josh Allen continues to not turn it over, they're going to be in contention to win every single football game that they play, regardless of how much the defense is getting worked. But also, like I mentioned earlier, you can't expect to win a game like that routinely. You win 1 out of 100, and they did on Sunday night. That was your 1 out of 100. They got a graphic up, by the way, on Monday Night Football right now. Mid-game talking about last night. It says Bills trailed by 15 with under 4 minutes left. 4th win in 2,316 NFL games in that stadium since 2000. And the Bills scored 16 unanswered points with less than 4 minutes left. I'm sure you might have the Monday Night Football game on in the corner, by the way. Wow, what a doozy. I'm currently missing right now. 7-3. Sure as hell ain't what we saw last night. KM coming in. You see what Parsons got? See how this year goes? No Super Bowl, blow it up. New front office and new head coach. Uh-oh. Starting already. KM coming in hot. Oh, he's coming in real hot. Trade Allen for 6 firsts and 2 defensive pieces. Rebuild for 2 years and win a Super Bowl. Just playing. Oh, okay, good. Thank God. Just playing, says KM. Just for the hell of it, what do you think Josh Allen would command in the trade? Like, say it got to this insane point KM's bringing up, where Pagula just goes AWOL. He's like, I've had it. We've gotten this close. We can't get over the hump. We're tearing it down. What do you think he would command in a trade? I would love to see it. No, pause. I wouldn't love to see it. I would love to see what, I would love to hear from GMs as to what they'd be willing to give up in order to acquire Allen. That's the better way to put it. I would love to hear from the other, let's say, 28 organizations that would do anything to have Josh Allen as their quarterback. What would they give up? If Micah Parsons is commanding 2 firsts, I mean, Josh Allen's getting at least 4 first-round picks, and it would have to come from a team that you're fairly certain is going to be picking up high. I mean, I can't even wrap my mind around what it would be. There's just that's the thing. When you have a player like this, you cannot even fathom a trade scenario because it's just there's nothing that would be valuable enough. There's nothing. You'd literally have to send them. The thing is, you'd have to send the Bills so many assets that the acquisition of Josh Allen might just be completely offset because of what you had to give up. You would have to give up you'd have to give up your entire franchise. You'd have to give up the entirety of your foreseeable future first-round picks. You'd also have to give up multiple of your top players to even stand a chance. So then you have to figure it might not even be worth it. Yeah, you might acquire them, but what do you have around them? Just nothing. And you have no ability to draft anybody around them either because your entire slate of picks are gone. I don't even want to think about it, but it is interesting. Oh, it's Heath, a new member. Welcome to the building. Speaking of which, Heath, you have been entered into the giveaway, as are all members by Thursday. Thursday, September 11th, we are drawing a massive giveaway, selecting one of our YouTube members to win a ticket to the Roundtable Sports event in Buffalo for the Thursday night football showdown between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. We are giving away a ticket. What that ticket includes is our event the night before, Wednesday. We're doing a live show at a bar. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Then Thursday, day of the game. This is when it gets wild. full tailgate at the Ralph, right in the lots, full tailgate with the works, everything you could think of, including a live show with me, Rico, Dan Mitchell, TD, Richie, Colby, the whole gang, plus dozens of your friends that are subscribers to the channel. Everyone will be there. And while we're getting down in the parking lot, amped up for the game, we head into the game. And we don't just take any normal seat. We take a seat inside the box suites. Forget the exact suites that we're in, but suites nonetheless. Box suites with all of us sitting together. It's going to be a hell of a night, especially with TD in the building. If we can get some reactions like we got out of him yesterday in that absolute debacle against Daniel Jones and the Colts, that in itself is going to be worth the price of admission. And the price of admission is free with the giveaway. So become a YouTube member by Thursday. Those who are already members, you are already entered to win. Anybody who becomes a member, like Heath just did, between now and Thursday, you are also entered to win. We can't wait for it. We are a week out, a week from Thursday. We'll be in the building. A couple more things I want to touch on before wrapping up. We talked about the punt itself that allowed the Bills to get the ball back, go down, and allow Matt Prater to win that football game. Let's talk about the decision to punt. John Harbaugh was asked about it today. Lamar Jackson was also asked about it, and it's interesting. There's certainly a debate to be had here. I understand both sides. 4th and 3 is not 4th and 1. If it was 4th and 1, I'm pretty sure John Harbaugh is lining up to go for it. 4th and 3, it really is in that territory where it starts to become a debate. I think even 4th and 2, you're probably considering it. 4th and 3, though, you're at that threshold of, is it just a little too far to consider going for it in this part of the field? Because if we don't get it, the Bills are immediately in field goal range. They're not going to have to do a thing other than run the ball a couple times, have us burn our timeouts, and kick it. But you have to factor in the game itself and what was unfolding. The Ravens were averaging over 8 yards per play, both through the air and on the ground. They were averaging over 8 yards a rush. Derrick Henry has almost 170 yards on 18 attempts. Lamar Jackson has over 11 yards per carry. And even though the Bills defense was showing signs of being able to get some stops, collectively throughout the night, they were not able to stop the run. I mentioned this last night, and I think it's the best way to put it. How do you feel as the opposing fan based on the decision? I'm not saying if you're John Harbaugh, you make the decision based on how you think the opposing fan would feel, but I can only speak for myself in this moment. When I saw Harbaugh trot out the punter as opposed to trotting out Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, I made a audible sigh of relief. Literally like, thank God. 17's getting the ball back. He's getting a chance. If they would have lined up Henry and Lamar, I would have been tweaking. I don't even know if I could watch. I might have to close my eyes. And they didn't. The analytics here are something that many organizations are married to. Analytics have become a major part of the football game. It's why Sean McDermott elected to go for the 2 there after the Ravens penalty, where the Bills hit the extra point. They accept the penalty and decide to go for 2, which really threw a wrench into the entire football game. I did not like the decision at all. And beyond that, I hated the play call. You're on the 1 yard line. You got to QB sneak it with the absolute mutant you have at quarterback. Why are you throwing the ball in empty shotgun on the inch line? The whole reason you're going for it in the first place is because of how close you are to the end zone. Why line up in an empty gun? You can line up an empty gun with a standard 2-point conversion. So by that mindset, you might as well just gone for it regardless. You only went for it because you were that close to the goal line. So QB sneak it with one of the best to do it in that play. But analytics are a massive part of the game. And analytics, of course, weigh heavily into decisions in these type of moments. So what do the analytics look like for John Harbaugh and the Ravens in that moment. About a minute and a half left in the game. Bills have no timeouts. It's 4th and 3 on their own end of the field. What does that look like? Well, we have the analytics from ESPN's analytic department. Going for it was the recommended move based on the analytics. According to ESPN analytics, with a punt, the Ravens' chances of winning were at 73.2%. Going for it, the Ravens had a win percentage, or if the Ravens were to go for it, their chances of winning rise to 81.4%. That decision had over an 8% difference in win probability. I'm not huge into the analytics, but I got to imagine 8% is not insignificant. 8% seems pretty sizable to me. You go from 73.2% to 81.4%. And I'm not even sure if those analytics factor in what they had done all night on the ground. It might be higher if they don't. If they don't factor in what they had already been doing in the game, I'd have to imagine that those numbers are even higher. I think in the moment, from the fan perspective, from the Bills fan perspective, you thought they should go for it. I bet you there were plenty of Ravens fans who thought they should go for it, knowing who they were going up against on the other end. And the analytics tell you that they should have gone for it. And they didn't. Now, of course, if that ball isn't downed and the ball is allowed to roll and stops at the inch line, we're having a different conversation. Genius move. Genius play, right? But we always judge the outcome. And the ball was touched back. Allen gets the ball at the 20. And really, they had no problem getting into field goal range. They were in field goal range with like a minute left. They got the ball back with a minute and a half and no timeouts. And with that throw to Josh Palmer, they were in field goal range almost instantly. And then with the throw to Coleman, they were in chip shot field goal range with almost 40 seconds left in the football game. Collinsworth said it best. The Bills' defense couldn't stop Baltimore all night. Ravens' defense couldn't stop Josh Allen the entire second half. You got to factor that in. You have to. The way that they were moving the ball in the second half, you got to think if 17 touches the ball, he's getting into field goal range. Think about it if it were us. If it were us on the other end and we're going up against Lamar, we're going up against Mahomes, Burrow, would you have wanted to punt there? Would you have been criticizing McDermott if he did punt and the Bills lose that game as a result? Yes, you would have. And I know, is there going to be a portion of people that are going to rip him to shreds if they don't get it? Of course, there always is. Hindsight's always 20/20. But I could live with the decision. If they didn't get it, what would I rather lay my head on the pillow at night with? What would I rather stare at the ceiling at night with based on the result? Would I rather be staring up at the ceiling saying, man, what a game. It came down to Josh Allen in the offense and they just couldn't get it. They couldn't get the first down. But the ball was in the hands of the best player in the league. I got to live with it. Or would you rather be sitting there staring at the ceiling saying, they took the ball out of the hands of the best player in the league and they punted it to the other best player in the league with a minute and a half, needing only a field goal? How did we allow this? I think when you just kind of say it out loud, when you talk through it, I know it's easier said than done. I know it's not the easiest decision in the world. But I think it was the wrong decision. And I felt that in the moment. I wasn't just thinking it afterwards. I wasn't thinking it after the touchback. I was thinking it in the moment. Like I said, I literally was like, oh my God, thank God. And apparently when Lamar Jackson was asked about this, he said he would have really advocated to go for it with John Harbaugh if he weren't suffering from cramps in the moment. You can't say that. You can't say it. I'm sure he was. Why would he lie? He's got no reason to lie. I'm sure he was definitely hurting. Been getting banged up all night. Massive game, right? Really hard-fought game. I'm sure he's banged up. I don't think you can say you have cramps in that moment. You can't try to justify it with saying I have cramps. I was shocked he did. Really. I mean, superstar Lamar, 2-time MVP. I was shocked he said that. I could never imagine Josh Allen saying that there, which is why I was shocked to see him say that there, because I really couldn't have imagined him saying it either. Kind of seemed like a cop-out. I just feel like you can't say that there. I get it. I'm sure he was suffering from the cramps. I'm sure he was feeling it, man. I do. But I don't think you can say that there. I think the answer's just got to be, listen, I just got to live with the decision. We trusted our defense, and, it's on me. We didn't get the job done in the 3 downs prior to that. That's what I'd say. Yeah, look, would we love to have gone for it? Sure. But, it's a risky move. It's on our own end of the field. We couldn't get it done the 3 plays prior. That's on me. We should have. And we trusted our defense. We have one of the better defenses in the league. We have a superstar roster on that end. We trusted them. And unfortunately, we just didn't get the job done tonight. That, to me, is probably the way to go. Because you just create a storyline. And Lamar's not that guy. I have all the respect in the world for Lamar. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here because of what he's been up until this point. But you create unnecessary storylines by saying, oh, I had cramps or else I would have advocated for it. Then you got people like me and everybody else talking about that. I just don't think that's, you can't give an excuse there. Thank God they didn't go for it. Led Robsta in the building. He goes, I feel like you guys forgot my name. That's going to be a problem if I win that raffle and chat it up with you boys. BF is the best YouTube channel, period. Led Robster, I didn't forget your name. It's Money Mitch. Mitch is one of my all-time favorite names. My dad used to use the name Mitch as like a pseudo name for somebody he didn't know the name of. Like we would drive. My dad used to do this hilarious thing where you would like wave to you would beep the horn, right? So imagine this. You're driving down the street. Say you're driving down the road and somebody's like walking their dog on the right side of the street. You beep the horn. You look at them. They look at you. They wave, and then you turn to the other side and you wave to the other side. And then you look back in the rear view, and the person walking the dog's like, "Wait, what the hell just happened?" So you beep while looking at the person, smiling. You're like, beep. Then you turn to the other side where nobody is, and you wave. And you look in the rear view, and the person will be like, "Wait, what just happened? There's nobody over there. What is that guy doing?" But every time he would do it, he'd be like, "What's up, Mitch?" Just like that. So I could never forget the name Mitch. That was like a name we would use for like random characters throughout my life. Mitch. Mitch at work, even though Mitch at work didn't exist. I don't know why that was the name. Mitch and Tommy, I think, were the 2 names we would do growing up. Mitch and Tommy were like the fictional names that we would use. Yeah, no, we're insane. Yeah, you don't have to tell me. BT Bartek. Last thing that was going through my mind was Henry fumbling in that spot. Yeah, no kidding. The last thing on earth I was expecting was for him to, after the game he had, for him to be one of the reasons why the Ravens lost. Seriously. Bartek says, I'll see you at the game, bot. Ooh, baby. Yes, you will, BT. Lots to celebrate, a.k.a. lots of shots. Ooh, you are speaking my language, BT. Bartek is bringing, I think, the Polish whiskey or something. Polish booze, Polish vodka, something. He's bringing Polish spirits. Polish spirits are being brought to the tailgate at MetLife. You know what else is being brought? Is my main man Rico into the building.
Yo.
What are you doing, Killer? You on the road?
I'm on the road again. Getting sick of this sick. But listen, I had a funny story for you. I was talking to my brother today because I know you're going to sign off soon, but I thought this was hilarious. So he calls me. If you guys already know, my brother is a big Dallas Cowboys fan. So he calls me. He goes, so you must feel really good about your win yesterday. I was like, why wouldn't I? Yeah, jackass. Why wouldn't I feel good? And he goes, how do you feel? I said, I feel great. And I joke. I said, we're the best team in the world. And he goes, you know what? He's like, I always ask myself why I dislike Bills fans and the team. I was like, wait a minute, you dislike Bills fans? Like, who doesn't like Bills fans? And who doesn't like this team? He's like, I figured it out. It's not the team I dislike. I like the team. It's you and your fans I dislike so much. He's like, Bills fans are insufferable. They're the worst. I said, how? Because we root for our team? I'm like, you are a miserable Dallas Cowboys fan. That's your problem. So we're getting into this chatter. He goes, so what were your thoughts 5 minutes going into at the end of the game? I was like, honestly, my thoughts, I was like, we still have a chance. We still have a slither of a chance. He goes, you're such a liar. I was like, how am I a liar when I'm telling you what my true feelings were going into this game? He goes, I'm like, what, how about you tell me what I was feeling? He goes, just tell me that you guys thought you were going to lose. I was like, well, if you're a true fan of your team, there's always that in the back of your mind, but there's also that hope that you can come out of this game and you can win this game. We had a whole full-blown argument of my feelings on how I felt about this game, and he was telling me that I was wrong. We ended up hanging up the phone on him because I just had enough of this guy. So the delusion in Dallas Cowboys fans, my brother sickens me, and he goes, you know me, I'm a rational person. Not right now, you're not. Yeah. Like, what fan goes into this game saying, 2 minutes left, we're done? And I was like, you know what the big difference is? When you have elite quarterbacks like Josh Allen, it's never over. If you're Daniel Jones or you're Russell Wilson or you're freaking Dak Prescott, maybe you could say it's over. But when you have Josh Allen, it's never over. Never over. So I just felt it on my chest to come out here and just drop that story there. Now, whether there's relevance to that or not, I just felt it. Anyway, that's it.
You know what that sounds like to me?
What's it sound like?
I got one word for that. That sounds like jealousy in all caps. And I gotta give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, man, they're going through it over there. I mean, if I had to root for that team, I don't even know where I'd be right now. With Jerry sticking his spoon into every pot in the kitchen over there, losing Micah, watching that Packers team dominate Detroit. I mean, good. I mean, granted, you know, Dallas looked good against Philly, but that sounds like jealousy to me. But you nailed it. I think the true sign of a diehard fan is you think every single game, we're going to lose this game, but also there's no way we lose this game. That is what I think, how I think of every game, other than like the gimmies. You know what I mean?
Like, do we go into it like trying to decide what scenario that could happen? Absolutely. When we're down 2 scores, you're like, okay, so all we need is just to get a stop. If we just get a stop and we stop Derrick Henry, then we got a chance. And then they missed and then I told him, but that missed extra point kind of gave me a little bit more hope. He called me a liar. He goes, you weren't thinking that. Okay, no, I wasn't thinking.
I believe you because, like I told you last night, I literally looked at my in-laws and I said, you know what's funny about that? And at the time, I didn't think it was going to matter, but I literally did say, you know what's funny about that is that touchdown's kind of irrelevant now because it's still a 2-score game. That extra point makes it a 3-score game. So and I tried telling him, it's never over, especially when you have a franchise quarterback. But he just refused. He wanted me to literally say, I thought we were doomed and I thought we were going to lose. But the fact that I had a little bit of hope for my team, I was like, well, then what kind of fan would I be? I'd be one of those bozo fans that decided to walk out of the stadium because they thought the game was over. You'll never find a true fan walk out on their team like that. Pathetic. How about Alan? You hear Alan say, have a little more faith next time?
Have a little more faith.
Yeah.
Sit around and wait till the end. You POS. My gosh. Could you imagine? You're right by your car. All of a sudden you hear a big cheer at a stadium. You turn around. You look at your phone and you get an update.
I would never live it down. Ever.
Couldn't. And
I would never let them back in. Your brother's point makes no sense to me, though. With 2 minutes left, you should have had all the faith in the world. They were there with 2 minutes left. You know what I mean? Like with 2 minutes left, they were only down 8. Or no, they were only down 2.
He goes, you guys were down 2 scores with 5 minutes left. There's no way you thought you were still in this, especially with the Ravens having the ball back. Well, this is where you say, let's get a stop. Let's get a stop. A true fan would try to think of every scenario or something. Like, let lightning hit the something. You're thinking of everything possible. Let Lamar Jackson have a bug and he throws up and he can't go in, and here comes the backup quarterback. You're thinking of every possibility to let your team have a way to win. And you know what? It worked out. And the possibility, his name was Ed Oliver. And that's how it goes down.
Damn right.
That's how it goes down. Anyways, I didn't want to hijack the show.
You going to call him back, or are you guys going to be on non-speaking terms for a little while?
No, I'm sick of him. Like, when we get into these arguments, like, I just can't. I need to get off the phone with him. Like, Jenna cannot be, when we get on the phone, we're like, Haitians, we speak very loudly when we're talking. And he's loud, then I become louder, and now it's an argument. She's like, can you take it somewhere else? And I feel her. I feel her pain. If we're driving, she wants nothing to do with this speakerphone phone call. She's not doing that. She's done. So now he's done for the night.
It's amazing to me that he would even attempt to start an argument with you. Not only are those two franchises on two completely different paths right now, but the last time the Bills played the Cowboys, they beat them in such an embarrassing fashion that I don't think I'd ever recover. Joe Brady ran the ball, I think, 70 times in that game. They beat them by like 40, and Josh Allen threw the ball 7 times.
Do you know how good it felt to call him and I just want to hear him. I just want to just hear him breathe. And are you feeling it right now? He didn't want to hear it. He didn't pick up my phone. So it is what it is. It is what it is.
You're on the road, huh? How was it getting up and getting on that ferry this morning?
Buddy, do you know how bad it was for me to wake up this morning? Woke up this morning, I felt like, where am I? Like, what's happening? Made it to the ferry. I thought I was gonna fall asleep on the ferry, but I couldn't. All I was seeing was videos of you going, "Oh my God, he made it!" Great video, by the way. Great video.
You had a good one too. Right. I'm glad Jenna captured the moment. We need to be able to relive this stuff. It's perfect.
Listen, I just wish I was actually able to scream out loud, but I couldn't. I had to just like, I don't want to do that. Hey, is that picture coming out soon or what?
We currently are in possession of an image of Rico and I that we are deciding whether or not we want to display to the public.
Yeah.
It is something. We're going to have to have a discussion on that. We're going to have a discussion on that. All right. Hey, folks, we'll catch you tomorrow. Yes?
I'm out of here. Yo, listen, enjoy your show, buddy.
They'll catch you tomorrow. All right. Well, maybe they will. Maybe they won't. I think they're going. I think you're going to see them tomorrow. I think you're going to. You should. First Rico report of the season. And you got a lot to talk about. So why not? All right. Hour 37 in the books. Like I said, become a YouTube member. Get entered into that giveaway for a ticket to our roundtable event and the Bills-Dolphins Thursday night football game. Become a YouTube member by Thursday. You'll automatically be entered in to win. So get in on that. Like button on the way out if you could. Subscribe button on the way out if you could. Also, link in the description below for the VIP Discord server. You got to go check it out. If you're already a YouTube member, you'll have full access throughout the duration of being a member. You just click the link, attach it up, you'll be good to go. But if you aren't and you want to give it a try, we are also doing a free run right now, free trial run, link in the description. Come join us. There's like 100 of us plus in there right now, growing every single day. We're in there all the time. A bunch of different channels in there. We're talking about everything from general NFL stuff to obviously Bill-specific stuff. We're doing chat rooms in there where we're just kind of chatting, doing our thoughts, little sound bites or whatever that you can get in on, chat with us as well. Really cool. The ability to do that. Super simple, super easy to do. Get in on it. Link in the description below. VIP Buffalo Fanatics Discord server. Go check it out. A lot of fun, and it's the best way for all of us to stay in constant contact when we're not on YouTube or we're not on Twitter or whatever. And when you're on Twitter, Twitter is great, but such a vast landscape. This is very, enclosed, tight-knit, with just the fan base, just the BF squad. So go check that out as well. But in the meantime, that's going to do it. Hour 40 in the books on a victory Monday night after one of the best victories in franchise history, one of the craziest games in NFL history. Bills get it done 41-40. We'll have much more coming your way this week. We'll have Rico coming your way tomorrow. Friday night, we'll be previewing Bills, Jets. And then, of course, this weekend, first divisional battle of the season. It's Bills on the road against the Jets. Plenty more coming your way this week. But for now, have a terrific rest of your Monday night. Talk soon. Much love as always. And go Bills.